Don't sleep on Jiyan in version 2.3, because he still has value in spades. Allow me to tell you why that is. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. The main reason that I still believe Jiyan to be an excellent pull for your account to this day will be the fact that he's so good in all game modes. And not only is he fantastic in all of them, my guy is easy to use too. So while you can indeed employ more high-end techniques of him if you so choose, at a baseline, anybody can pick up Jiyan and clear effectively with him. Because of this, he ends up being a really good DPS to pick up in order to flesh out your character roster. No matter what game mode it is that you're struggling in, Jiyan will be there to save the day. Okay, fine, sure. He may not be the absolute strongest available option when it comes to tackling the TOA. We do indeed have significantly stronger options these days there. However, Jiyan will still easily clear the content presented in front of him within tower if given some love and care when it comes to his build. You won't be disappointed with his clears, he'll get the job done very smoothly. Plus, his wuwa prowess doesn't require any of our limited 5-star units in order to be tapped into. Kuro officially revealed that Shakona will have the ability to apply Spectral Frazzles consistently from off-field, which is most likely going to heavily aid Phoebe's wuwa performance. However, that's still an additional limited 5-star that you need to pull for in order to make her good there. Changli is excellent in Whimpering Wastes, but unless you're pairing her with Mr. Brant Wuthering Waves, she's far from easy to use for the average player. Camellia gets a pass, since all you need for her is Sanhua really. Meanwhile, Jiyan's best partner in crime is the furious scientist Mortefi, who literally never fails to appear on his banners. So you can slap him with a Mortefi, then any third slot healer of your choice, whether that be Baichi, Varina, or Shorekeeper, and expect to perform very well within the game mode. His insane grouping capabilities during his ult up time makes him a sublime choice for dealing with all of those pesky trash mobs. The fact that you get such an insane wuwa unit, along with a good TOA unit, makes him a total package deal for any player, especially if you're just new and starting out. Camellia is one of the only of her characters that shares this quality of being extremely universally applicable to all game modes, while having a crazy 4-star teammate. It's why I really shield those two as excellent beginner characters. Crazy good ease of use, along with the fact that you can use them everywhere without having to learn a new playstyle for them or anything like that. Simply playing the units as you usually would will offer you great endgame clears all around. Remember what I mentioned earlier in regards to Mortefi always being on his banners? Yeah, that's another thing. Jiyan's extremely cheap to get going. I will say, he does have a stereotypical caveat of really wanting a rate-up 5-star weapon in order to feel like you're truly tapping into his potential. Either his own signature, Verdant Summit, or even Ages of Harvest will get the job done just fine. The standard Broadblade will also fulfill the task well, of course. However, beyond that setback, team building for him is really cheap. As it currently stands, his best install partner is a 4-star character. That naturally makes him a really friendly unit when it comes to accessibility. And if you don't have a copy of Shorekeeper, who cares? You have both Varina and even Baichi to turn to in such a case. All in all, anybody at any stage of the game can make good use of him. You can easily start off by hyper-investing into Jiyan's Echoes, and then slowly building up Mortefi as well, so you can take advantage of the Angry Scientist's personal damage later down the line. There's also the option of picking up Static Mist, so you can gain some team-wide buffs for him. The biggest reason as to why I really think Jiyan is still such a good investment is the fact that he's stood the test of time, provably. We've gotten numerous amazing DPSs since his time, and you'd think that this old 1.0 release would have minimal business in today's meta. I wouldn't fault you for thinking that. After all, it makes sense that the old unit wouldn't be so good anymore after we got all of these shiny new ones, right? Wrong. Jiyan still remains as an extremely consistent clearer of endgame content even to this day, which I consider to be highly impressive, especially when you take into account that we've gotten so many meta behemoths added to the game since his initial release. Kuro seemed to be done with him. What more could they possibly do with the dude? Well, how about adding in an entire endgame mode where he's legitimately one of the best options that you can use? I should also take a moment to praise the generally good balancing of his game though. There's basically never any unreasonable spikes in difficulty within Wuthering Waves endgame content. There was that one absolutely dastardly wuwa rotation, but Kuro was quick to solve that too. Jiyan's damage output still feels really competitive even now, and I think that's truly wonderful. I think the fact that he stood the test of time really inspires a great amount of confidence in his future. No matter what new challenges Kuro adds to the game, this handsome dragon general is going to continue to feel like a super strong, viable option. To think this is the case, and his best teammate is a 4-star, I'd say this means that you could invest into Jiyan right now, and unironically expect to see fantastic use out of him for the next few years. There's no telling when the brightness in this guy's future ends, because it sure as heck doesn't feel like that'll be coming anytime soon. Considering that he's mostly a unit that shines in heavy AoE, I'm amazed by how strong his output remains versus boss content. So even if Kuro begins to heavily favor single target to more of an extent than previously, I still feel that his damage output will be able to keep up, thanks to how Kuro balanced their endgame so reasonably. This guy's also the recipient of many lovely indirect buffs. The main significant one was the introduction of Nightmare Echoes. Nobody could have predicted that we'd have Nightmarefully and Berengal added to the game. That ended up being a really nice boost to him. A unit that seemed oh so complete, still getting lovely upgrades even now. Yes, he did gain a synergy with Arrow Rover when he released, but I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it because it's not really all that good. It could become better when Shakona releases, but there's no real telling right now. We're really just assuming that based on the fact that the silly bard is a fellow Arrow Erosion enjoyer. But if that does end up being the case, then we could be seeing an entirely different archetype of Jiyan team comp being opened up. Either way, his synergy with Arrow Rover is something that's set in stone for certain. And I've already mentioned this numerous times by this point, so I'm not going to harp on about it any longer than necessary. However, I will reiterate that Whimpering Waste has to have been the absolute biggest indirect buff to Jiyan's overall pull value as a character. Seriously, one of the greatest influences of them all. I mean, shoot, the fact that I keep mentioning it every 5 seconds should go to show how much of a positive I consider this to be. Generally speaking, I think that he's a fantastic pull to make. Even now, if you really like this character, that's great, because this isn't just a case of, oh yeah, he'll work if you seriously try to make him work. No, not at all. He's still a seriously competitive unit even to this day, and I just think that's neat. You see, I've had to rely on Jiyan myself a lot. I've always loved the character because, well, I mean, look at him. What a dude. So naturally, I've played with him quite a lot. He's seriously been a big help to me in in-game content. I've relied on him to help me with endgame for ages now, and he's still one of my go-tos whenever I'm facing such content. Now, if you're a new player, would I recommend Jiyan as the absolute first pull that you should be making? No, because that honor goes to none other than the sweet acolyte Phoebe, because she edges out in free-to-play friendliness, while also dealing more formidable damage than him. However, his endgame versatility really isn't something that should be ignored, as this is such a key, integral, valuable aspect of his future-proofness. Plus, the thing with Phoebe, while it seems like Shakona may end up helping her in Whimpering Wastes, she's only really good in TOA and holograms. Now, she's amazing in those respective game modes, but Jiyan has the pro of being an all-rounder right from the get-go. There are certainly plenty of other choices you can make these days. I understand that it's kind of easy to overlook Jiyan when there's so many flashy new banners being thrown at you all at once. However, I feel like he seriously deserves some spotlighting, as I don't want his bucket loads of amazingly high pull value to go unnoticed. Every unit in this game remains viable to this day, and it makes me really happy to see a 1.0 character thrive within the current meta climate, even if a lot of time has passed. We're talking about 1 full year of Wuthering Waves here, folks. It's not just the anniversary of the game's official launch itself, but also the anniversary of Jiyan's initial release. For that reason, let's all put some respect on Jiyan's name. Plus, a major benefit of him being such an early release is that his kit is really simplistic. You sort of have to actively try to mess up Jiyan, honestly. So don't forget about this guy. There's no need to write him off because he's an older unit. In Wuthering Waves, release date has no bearing on a unit's overall meta value. This gorgeous Dragon General has aged like fine wine, and is a really beginner-friendly unit to help you start to understand the combat mechanics of this game. And even if you're somebody who has a very fleshed out roster, you've collected lots of DPSs by this point, Jiyan may still end up feeling like an excellent all-rounder to add to your account. Sure, his presence on your account might not feel as impressive if you've already covered all main in-games and you've already covered out all of your main teams. However, you can always be assured that if Jiyan managed to survive from 1.0 all the way up until now in 2.3, then you can be sure as heck that he's going to survive from 2.3 to 3.0, and perhaps even 4.0, and we'll just have to see what happens from there. Even if he does get quote-unquote power crept, I don't really think that would suddenly make him a trash, worthless unit, because the thing is, not only does Wuthering Waves not really deal in direct power creep, but when they do, that doesn't suddenly mean that the old unit is useless. Just because Shangli Yao is a better Electro DPS than Kalcharo doesn't mean that you can't just use them together as an example. So I wouldn't really worry about a better Arrow DPS coming out in the future, because chances are, they're gonna use entirely different teammates to Jiyan anyways. Which means a healthy coexistence on your account can happen, considering that Vigor is a thing that exists. So different teams equals better Vigor management. And we only have a handful of units right now that are completely dominant in Whimpering Wastes, and Jiyan is one of them. My only real gripe with him is the fact that I don't love using ult-based units in the overworld, but you can dispatch of most enemies very easily just by slashing them down using his normal attacks and skills, while saving his ult for bigger battles, so honestly, not that big of a deal. Plus, he's just extremely good looking, man. So I'll pop him out in the overworld at times anyway, because my eyes just feel happy looking at him. I think the main area where he has aged poorly is sequence nodes. Unfortunately for any big spenders, wailing on this guy just isn't all that worth it. His early nodes do nothing overly notable for him. Newer characters have far better sequence nodes to aim for, if that degree of long-term character investment is something that you're personally interested in. But honestly, that's the only real artifact of his time that Jiyan holds in terms of kit design. On all other fronts, he is beyond satisfactory. Also, if you don't have Camellia, then that only makes Jiyan an even better pull on your account, since he shares similar positive qualities of her. Amazing ease of use, wonderful endgame versatility, while featuring a 4-star as one of their best installed teammates. Jiyan is not a must by any means, and you can make 1,000 arguments as to why you should pull for any of the other banner units that'll be featured during his time in version 2.3. Sure. However, the fact that he's still so freaking good, while only seeing improvements over time, even if indirectly, means that to me, he's a gosh darn investment of a unit. If you're struggling to choose a main damage dealer that can help you across all game modes, or if you merely want a hot guy to stare at during gameplay, considering that those are pretty scarce in Wuthering Waves, then Jiyan may very well be your ultimate account saver. Has any of this convinced you to see Jiyan in a different light, or is it still a skip all the way for you? Let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week every week on Saturdays, starting from free PMK time. Come along so that we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZ, and do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to tell you why Jiyan may actually be better than what you may have previously thought. This has been Juice, signing out, and I'm gonna be real, Chief. If we're talking in terms of character design only, then Jiyan's easily Wuthering Waves' best boy, and it's not even close.